We got to transition to a conversation about the future of the sport because whenever I
Hmm.
get to have you on the podcast, whenever we get to talk to you, we like to have you explain court cases to us because you're really good at writing about those things and explaining them on your podcast. So let's do it like we're 5 years old, okay? House versus NCAA, the case gets
Yep.
settled. Why is it such a big deal? What's it mean for college football? Just give us the main bullet points we need to know because we're big dumb football guys.
So House versus the NCAA was former athletes suing the NCAA saying, hey, NIL should have been allowed by you, but you were colluding, the schools, the conferences, you were all colluding to keep the money away from us. So you owe us money. And that one was settled along with several other kind of similar cases that were all in the same district, in the Northern District of California. And basically, what they decided is they're going to set the NCAA and the power conferences, which are the defendants in the case. They decided they're going to settle for $2.7 billion in back pay. So the NCAA national office and then the schools, and not just the power conference schools, but all of the schools are going to foot the bill for all this back pay, which is a ton of money, $2.7 billion. But also, for the next 10 years, schools that opt in, which will be at least the ACC, Big 12, SEC, and Big 10, can share up to 22% of the average revenue of a power conference school, average athletic revenue of a power conference school. They can share up to 22% with their athletes. So it's the first time the NCAA is saying the schools can pay the athletes. So that's, if you want to just boil it down to one sentence, the NCAA is saying the schools can pay the athletes, which is something that 20 years ago, if you'd have told an NCAA person in 2024, you're going to settle a case and the schools will pay the athletes millions of dollars, they would have said, absolutely not. No way. That'll never happen. But it's happening. It's happening. Now, what's interesting is this settlement, they hope is a way to create a salary cap. They're not going to get what they want. What they're hoping is this is a framework, and then Congress will step in and give them an antitrust exemption that allows them to unilaterally impose a salary cap without negotiating with the players. The way they did this is, and the plaintiff's attorneys actually kind of worked with the schools on this. If you want the money that's being shared by the schools, you've got to opt into the settlement. So let's say you're an athlete who signs next year. If you want to get that money, you've got to opt into the settlement, which says if you opt in, I won't sue my school or the NCAA for imposing a salary cap on me. And what they're hoping is that all the athletes opt in, which essentially makes any sort of class action thing impossible because there wouldn't be enough people to create a class to sue. And so that's how they're hoping to eliminate the lawsuits. I don't think that's going to work. I think there will still be people who sue. There'll still be courts who want to review that case. It didn't settle anything in the court. I mean, they settled it amongst themselves, but it wasn't settled by the court. So that's the thing. They think this is a salary cap. They're wrong. Like if you think it's going to make collectives go away, it's not. Like some of them are going to kind of come in house, but for football, like at Oklahoma, at
Like
Texas, at Georgia, at
it's
all
a
the schools we're
salary
talking
cap
about.
on the institution, not on the player, kind of, right?
Correct. Yeah. Like they're still going to use NIL money to supplement, and it's still not going to be real NIL. Like it's not going to be because you did a commercial. Now you can get those commercials too, but they're going to make sure the players are paid their market value as players. Like the NCAA still plans to have rules against pay for play. That's complete bullshit. We know it. Like we know that the players are being paid for their abilities players now. The schools are doing that. They want to do that. They're going to keep doing that.
I guess what I'd like to know is how does it affect other sports? For a long time, the talk has always been we got to carve football out from the rest of the athletics because it's really the only consistent revenue producer. Like some
Mhm.
basketball programs at a handful of places actually are in the positive, but most of them are not, and that's kind of for every other sport. Is this a total carve out, and how does all that all work?
It's not a carve out right now. We don't know yet how it's going to work, how they're going to divide it, because like the Title IX question hasn't been answered. Jeffrey Kessler, who was one of the lead attorneys for the plaintiffs in the House case, got asked about Title IX. He's like, well, the courts are going to have to decide that one. So he's basically saying people are going to sue over this, and then some judge is going to decide. And that's all going to have to get worked out. The ADs have been saying, well, if you make us do this, we're going to cut sports. That's a complete scaremonger tactic. If you're an AD who cuts a sport, it's because you didn't care enough to raise the money to support it. Now, are there going to be coaches in other sports that don't make money that make less money now? Yes. Like now, Patty Gasso at Oklahoma deserves every penny she gets, but I don't think there's a lot of softball coaches that need to be making 750 grand a year. Sorry, like your sport makes no money. Like you don't you don't get the right to complain about not getting paid like the football coach. So like that's the part that I think that they're going to have to grapple with. Like they've been building these palatial facilities and paying, ever increasing salaries to the coaching staffs in these sports that make no money. Like don't do that. It's a waste of money. Like there's no return on investment there. But that doesn't mean you can't sponsor those sports. That doesn't mean you can't support those athletes. You just don't have to give them gold plated things because the football players were making that money in the first place and they should be getting it.
You were a walk on at Florida, and I keep seeing headlines about the possibility of walk-ons going away in college football. I just don't believe it, man.
I
I
don't think
just
that's going to happen. So the House settlement, and I'm glad you brought this up, Gabe, because I do think this is important to talk about. They're eliminating scholarship limits, but in place of those, they're going to have roster caps. Like like in an NFL cap, you got 53 players. You can't have more than 53 players. And the coaches are worried that they were going to cap the football rosters at 85, which you've been running with 110, 120 man rosters. That would be a drastic change. Also, unlike the NFL, you can't sign somebody off the street. Like what you got's what you got. And so they're worried, yes, that a walk-on spot would go away because you would only like you're going to scholarship all of your football players. If they say you can have 90 football players, you're going to scholarship them all and try to get the best 90 you can, which would eliminate recruiting of walk-ons or the ability of someone who just appears on your campus to walk on the football team. I don't think that has to happen. I personally don't think you can have college football without walk-ons. Like you can't have Texas A&M football without the 12th man. I'm sorry. It's part of what makes the sport great. And intelligent people can figure out a way to make it work. For example, you guys played in the NFL, you had practice squads. Why can't you have like in the NFL, a practice squad player does not make the league minimum. They make less than that. They have different rights and privileges than a guy on the 53-man roster. Well, what is that if not a walk-on versus a scholarship player? Like you could have a practice squad, which would allow you to take walk-ons to be your scout team. And you could have a situation, a mechanism where you could elevate somebody from the practice squad. From a practical standpoint, it wouldn't change anything about the way coaches run their programs. Like at practice, it wouldn't change anything. Like I would have been on the scout team. I would have never gotten elevated. Some of the dudes I played with did get elevated, like would have gotten scholarships. But I don't think I really, if they can't figure that part out, I don't have any faith in them to figure anything else out either. Like you got to be able to have walk-ons. And I just like, that's an idea we talked about on the show this week. Like we came up with that idea in 30 seconds. They can figure it out.
Well, I think it's good that it seems like all of the coaches seem pretty resolute in wanting to keep it. So I gather because of how it was a settlement that we didn't get an actual ruling. So there's still a lot of gray area out there. I'm guessing you don't think this is going to be the final look college football that we have for any duration. There's still going to
No.
be change.
Yeah, I think until they get to collective bargaining, it's going to be in flux. I think once they get to collective bargaining, then the things are going to start to coalesce into rules that probably will stick for a long time because they can't be challenged legally. I mean, well, anybody can sue anybody over anything, but if you have a real CBA, then the legal challenges aren't going to hold up. So those are rules that can stick. But you had another court case that got settled on Thursday. The NCAA essentially waved the white flag on transfers. They're being sued by various states and by the Justice Department, and basically said it's funny because I think the Justice Department was probably being charitable in allowing them to call this a settlement. Basically, NCAA quit. Like as Nick Saban would say, make his ass quit. Like they quit. And I think they had to because they're in these other cases where they're trying, like the schools do not want the players to be employees. That is sort of the hill they've chosen to die on. And you can't enforce non-competes on people that you are in other courts saying are not employees, because that's the first question you're going to get. Like, okay, well, have you thought about making them employees if you'd like to enforce these non-competes? And they'll go, well, we don't want to do that. And then the judge will go, then why are we even here? And that's why they've given up. But I think it's important because basically they've said there are no transfer rules. They're not going to make any more. They've agreed that they will never make them again. And if that's the case, the thing that drives this all the time free agency still exists. Like if you ask coaches, the ability for them to transfer unfettered is the bigger problem than NIL or anything else, because the coaches don't really mind the guys being able to get money. What they mind is the guys coming in every 6 months going, I'm going to need a raise or I'm going to the portal. That would piss me off too. But right now, if you're not going to recognize them as employees, if you're not going to treat them as employees, you have no mechanism to hold them. And I think if you ask the coaches, they would say, whatever it takes to get collective bargaining so I can sign a dude to a 3-year contract. Let's make that happen. But right now, the schools are not there yet.
I want to have the power that a college football player has right now, guys. That sounds awesome.
Oh, there's never been a better time.
I could
Never.
just do whatever I want. That sounds
Yes.
fantastic.
Yeah. If I were the players, I wouldn't want to change a thing. I wouldn't want anything to ever change again.
No. Go wherever you want. Make money. Sounds fantastic. We'll get you back to the interview. But first, fellas, Father's Day is coming up on June 16th, and our friends at Manscaped have some excellent gift options for you to get your dad. Head over to manscaped.com and get 20% off plus free shipping with code OKBreakdown. My dad's got a beard. He's had it my entire life. He needs a beard trimmer upgrade. Got to have it. So I got him the Beard Hedger Pro Kit. It's the complete beard maintenance kit for all the bearded dads out there. This all-in-one kit comes with a beard hedger. That's Manscaped's most advanced beard trimmer, as well as shampoo, conditioner, oil, and balm for his beard. It also comes with a brush, comb, and scissors so he can style his beard and mustache. This kit's fancy, y'all. It's fancy. Now, maybe your dad isn't blessed with a luxurious beard. Maybe you're like Ted Lehman over there, beardless. Well, you can get some of the Boxers 2.0. They were designed with a simple mission to make the most comfortable boxers using perforated performance fabric for extra breathability. Get 20% off plus free shipping with code OKBreakdown at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code OKBreakdown. Happy Father's Day from Manscaped.
And head to opolisclothing.com for our podcast merchandise and the best OU gear out there. That's OPOLIS clothing.com. Use promo code TED, TED, for 10% off. That's opolisclothing.com. Use promo code TED for 10% off. Buttery soft and 10% off.
All right, back to the interview. Now, there is another just massive development in college football right now, and that is the return of the video game.
Yes.
You were one of the fortunate few that that got to play it early. I want to know everything, Andy. Tell me everything. What
Oh
let's
my
start here.
God. So I
What did you
sat down,
like the
Gabe.
most?
Well, I'll tell you, I can only say so much here, or you guys, because you guys have lives and have to get on with your lives at some point. But I did a video the other day when they finally allowed us to talk about this stuff. And I said to my producer, like, we'll go for like 10 minutes. And I got done talking and I was like, oh, how long was that? He's like 33 minutes. I was like, because I'm just trying to dump every piece of information out of my brain. It's really cool. So we've been waiting 11 years for this game to come back. And having met the people who make the game, I understand why it is the way it is, because they are as college football nerdy as we are. Like they love this stuff. Like they figured out how all 134 bands in the FBS, well, like what formation they're in when the team takes the field. And it's perfect for every single school. Like every single one. They try to make you feel like you're in the stadium. Like, because I know people said, is it just like Madden? The gameplay, of course, is very similar to Madden. They run on similar engines, but the experience of playing is very different than Madden. Because in Madden, you're just worried about the next play. You're not, you're gonna skip past the replays, all that stuff. In this game, they've got a picture in picture while you're picking the next play because they're going to be showing you the thing. Like if you're Oregon State and you pick off a pass, you got the turnover chainsaw. Like that's in the game. So it's they try to get all the little details, all the little quirks. And then the offenses are much more wide open. Obviously, it's a lot more diverse set of playbooks. It's much more fun to run the ball, I think, in this game than it is in Madden. One thing you guys I know will love, you can now change protections at the line of scrimmage. Half
Yes.
slide, full slide, max protect, you name it, it's all there.
They're bringing the
Beautiful.
nickel. We're changing the protection, Andy. Let's go.
You can re-ID the mic.
What?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to buy a PlayStation. I don't think we have one. I think I'm going to have to purchase it just to work
See,
on
I have
my
a
protection
14-year-old
changes.
son, so I like that's what everybody's like. When are you going to get a console? Like, we've had a console. Like you don't even want to know what we went through to get that PlayStation 5 that one Christmas it came out. So
I'm going to be screaming. My wife's going to be like, "What is wrong?" I'll be like, "I missed the safety rotation, honey. I didn't change the protection. I did. I'm an idiot."
another good thing, so depending on the attributes of your QB, if they have good pre-snap recognition, sometimes the game will give you some hints. Like it'll tell you they're in a cover 4 shell. Now that doesn't mean they're going to play cover 4, but it means the game's going to give you a hint at what they might be playing. And but that's only if your quarterback is a veteran with good pre-snap recognition.
Or if your team is one that has opted into the in-helmet communication, right? If
Well, they've all opted into that.
yeah,
So, yeah, I that's something because they don't have the actual coaches in the game yet, which I think that's going to come next year. Like basically, EA is afraid of the agents because they're worried Jimmy Sexton's going to be like, I know Lane Kiffin said he would do this for free, but let's be real here, you got to pay to have Lane Kiffin. I don't think they're going to be that. I don't think Jimmy would do that. I actually think if the coaches want to be in the game and they either want to do it for free or because they understand the recruiting
all it
value
takes is
of it.
one coach to do it for free, and then everyone else is going to be, I've got to
Yeah,
be
I
in the
think they'll
game.
all do it.
We can't
Yeah.
let them
But
have
but
the
I think
edge.
if you did that, like I would boost Ole Miss and I would boost Auburn, like to have Hugh Freeze being able to just tell the quarterback what to do, or to have Lane Kiffin be able to tell the quarterback what to do. I think that boosts their ability offensively. So, but you got speaking of coaches though, you can be a coach in this game. Obviously, dynasty mode's back. A lot of decision making, portal versus recruiting out of high school. Like that is a big piece of the team building, roster building aspect of it. And it's very similar to what they have to do in real life. And so how you handle that will determine how successful you are as a head coach in dynasty mode.
What was your absolute favorite thing you experienced playing it?
Well, I did take UNLV to Clemson and ran a little go-go offense down the field. So here's another nerdy thing that I love. I think some people hate it just because it's different, but I love it because I think it makes more sense. So in whether you're running read option or triple option, they've changed the mechanics of the first guy through. So it used to be that the default was you'd snap the ball. If you didn't press anything, the quarterback would keep. Like if you wanted to hand off to the first guy through, whether it was the dive back on the triple or the back in the read option, you would have to hit X really quickly. That they've changed that. Now the handoff is the default, which in real life you're more likely to hand off. The pull takes the button press. So you have like an extra split second to read the unblocked defender and figure out what he's doing, and you could decide if you want to hit X and pull. And I had a lot of fun with that because like I was playing against Clemson, so obviously their D line was way better than my O line. So I had to read that guy accurately or I was getting splattered. But I did have one drive where I got UNLV down the field against Clemson running the option.
Did you get to mess with the playoff format? Is that in there? And is that
No,
gonna be
we
cool?
could only do play now. So we didn't get a chance to do that. But in dynasty mode, you will get to see the playoff. And like Ben Halmiller, who's one of the guys in charge of the game, he's an FSU grad. And like when Florida State got left out of the playoff, he's in the Slack going, all right, we need to adjust the decision-making engine in terms of how they pick the teams and how they seed the teams in the playoff, because we just saw something that they said would never happen. So now we need to adjust the behavior of the committee for the CPU.
Those are things you never think about. So just last one for you, Andy. Just how excited should people be about the video game? Because it seems everything I've heard from you and from a couple other people that got to play it, just overwhelmingly positive reviews.
They put so much care into this game, guys. I was, because this is the thing. Everybody goes, well, they're paying you to advertise. No, they're not. They don't have to. Like that's the crazy thing about this. They're getting so much free advertising out of this because people are so excited about this game. But the thing is, the double-edged sword is if the game had sucked, we're not getting paid. We would have told you it sucked. Like it did not. It was awesome. And I think it's because they worked so hard to immerse you in the world of college football. And I think if they had tried to rush this thing back to market, let's say, because once NIL came into being, they could pay the players to be in the game. That was the thing that was holding them back from making it again. They probably could have put this out last year, but I don't think they would have been able to put it out the right way last year. I think they would have had too much work ahead of them. They would have had to cut a lot of corners. They didn't cut any corners here. They put it out the right way. It looks like college football. It embraces the things that make college football cooler than the NFL. I'm so excited for everybody to see it because like I had a lot of fun playing it. I am not a massive gamer, but this was the game I played when I played. And now the part that I think feels cool to me, I've got a 14-year-old son. I do not get to be cool in his eyes very often. When I came back from EA Sports, his high school spring football game was that night. They played this, much bigger team, hung with them, ended up in a tie. Like everybody's all excited because they hung with this team that looked like they were going to kill him. The second I get to the locker room door to pick him up, there's kids coming out of the locker room going, "God, tell me about the game. Tell me about the game. Tell me about the game." And I was like, "Oh man, this is a whole new generation." Like none of these kids were like 4 years old last time the game came out. They've never played it. They are going to love it as much as we always did.
That's awesome. Well, dude, it's always so much fun catching up. I appreciate you explaining all the legal stuff. I feel like that was a tremendous explanation. We're all excited.
I don't know if I'm doing a good job anymore. We've got a guy named Pete Nakos that works for us on 3. He explains it to me, and then I can help explain it to everybody else.
Perfect. There's just a chain of explanation.
Yeah,
you explain it to the people telephone that this, and they'll explain it to their friends.
Yeah, we make it more digestible to the audience as we go.
There's gonna be some guy talking to his buddy. Hey, what about a college football practice squad? Huh? Huh? No, you're
Yeah,
the man,
exactly.
Andy. I always appreciate the time, buddy.
All right. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.